the ways Islam can prove that it's greater than Christianity and Judaism is they feel that if they potentially, if you destroy Jerusalem or the Temple Mount, or blow up the gates, that it will not allow the Messiah to come back through the gates, and somehow to them that would prove that Allah is greater. So whether they would do that or not is sort of beyond the point. But the reality is they more than likely at some point would use those nukes on Israel or America. And again, the problem is when and if Israel goes in to do something about it with or without the help of America, it's going to cause some sort of backlash. Terrorist attacks in the U.S. potentially. I believe one of the reasons behind the scenes Bush gave was that he was afraid of the response of what Iran would do. Because apparently, you see, Hezbollah, which Iran supports, has been in this country for years. Sleeper cells in here for potentially 20 years or longer. And so there's no telling how many are here. And the threat is that they would blow things up, blow up bridges, attack shopping malls and peoples, and cause a lot of problems here. At the time, he may have been worried about the economy, which he may have known was getting ready to go down. So he chickened out, basically, would not allow Israel to go in or give them any help. But Israel will do whatever it takes to survive, so I believe that they will attack at some point. Of course, that could change. I mean, in the end, if some sort of peace agreement comes out, or if Netanyahu feels that there would be too much of a politically to lose to go in and attack, that he may not do it then. But I believe that is not as likely as them going to war against Iran to take out their nuclear facilities. But there definitely seems to be there's going to be some sort of backlash, and that could go into a full-fledged World War III because Russia has told them not to mess with Iran. Russia is their pal, so to speak. And apparently it could lead to World War III because they may decide to attack Israel, which might, of course, cause us to attack Russia, and you never know how messy that could get, whether nuclear or not. So we have that war in the Middle East. So basically, though, a good idea for any person listening to this would be ready for hard times, because you never know what the future holds in that sense. If something, terrorist attacks happen or some sort of war, it's a good idea to have some food. Not necessarily super hoarding, but, it'd be nice if you had a month or two worth of food, because you may not be able to get to a store, or the stores may not have food for a set period of time. Just like, anybody that lives in, certain states anyways should have something, because, if you're in the Midwest or areas that have bad snow, you probably already have some sort of extra food because of blizzard potential. And then anybody who lives where there's hurricanes, you should have some sort of extra food just to, in case of hurricanes. So it would be a good idea. Because you never know what the future holds. Other events that might come up is that UFOs disclosure or about aliens and UFOs. Now, for some people, especially in Christians, they may not think that UFOs or aliens have any validity. And to a point, they're right. There are no aliens, per se, from another world. These aliens in UFO are fallen angels and hybrids of fallen angels. uh, and which we'll go into more detail on another program. But for years now, people in secular circles who study UFOs believe a disclosure is coming. And I think eventually it may, because I think what it may tie into is when the devil, it says in Revelation, the devil's cast down with a third of his angels, and he's angry for a short period of time. That will happen. And the only debate that a Christian could give there is whether or not he's visible or not. In other words, he's cast down, whether he's going to possess somebody and work behind the scenes, or whether or not he'll be visible. I believe he'll be visible, and I believe the explanation is going to be aliens. That they're going to use the fact, say that they are aliens from outer space, and probably say that they created us, and that they came here to help us evolve, and probably help install the Antichrist at the same time. Again, I'm not dogmatic about that. That's just something I think that there's a good chance it probably will happen. But when it comes down to how the end times events play out, it's hard to say, because the devil doesn't even know when his time's up. He doesn't know when Jesus is coming back. Oh, he'll know when he's cast down. That's when he'll know. But the idea is he probably has groups of people and plans set at any given time for somebody to assume the mantle of the Antichrist, to assume his plan for end-time domination. But he doesn't know. He's not omnipotent. He doesn't know. So I think like I said, he sets things in motion. And what happens as time goes by, a person who somebody thought was the Antichrist or could be the Antichrist, well, he dies, or he gets too old, or he fades away, or a government system fades away because the time was not right. Because Satan does not know. He's not omnipotent. Also with that, the other interesting thing that kind of ties into it, right now, scientists are trying to mix genetically humans and animals, and also just change the genetics of people to quote-unquote improve the human species. Which is very interesting because, again, this ties back into the time of Noah and the fallen angels, where they came in and were mating with the women and creating basically their own species and these were giants. But it also said in other apocryphal books that they were with animals, and even mentioned plants. So the idea is genetically manipulating strains, splicing things, mixing with the species. And there are scientists that are trying to do that now. Theorists and futurists saying that in as little as maybe 10 years that the human race will be totally different. In other words, using technology, splicing or changing of DNA, so like I said, to supposedly improve the human race, but usually involves some sort of mixing with other animal species, which apparently God was against. Definitely during the time of Noah, and he would be now, because I think basically it would be an attempt by the enemy to create his own creation instead of God's creation, and to turn everything into his image instead of God's image, and if nothing else, to try to give God a black eye and say, look what I've done. I've polluted what you've done, which is what he usually attempts to do. Other events that can happen in the future, for the U.S. specifically, we have in Yellowstone National Park, there's a supervolcano, and it's been giving signs of activity. It's like a dome, and it swells up every once in a while, and they've had to close areas of the park in the recent past. I think it's not doing too bad right now. But they've had TV programs that have stated that